we now return to Let's Play SimCity 2000. Alright, so I've done a little bit, let's go ahead and turn on the speed here. I've done a little bit of research, and by a little bit I mean a lot of it. I have been looking, you know what, we'll keep the screen here for a minute. I have been looking at websites from the mid-90s. I've managed to track down a couple actual honest-to-God guidebooks that are like 500 pages long. Well, one of them is anyway, and it doesn't need to be that long at all because it repeats the information like 3 times. Guy must have been paid by the page or something, but yeah, there's a lot going on in this game, and honestly, everybody has a different interpretation of it. There's so much information that I don't think even Maxis really ended up knowing what was going on with this game. So the ratio that I have been spouting for the past few episodes, there's many second opinions on that. I found this one book actually puts out tables of how much wattage each of your power plants puts out, the coverage by how many tiles the water does and all this stuff, and then I test it and it doesn't actually add up because there's many variable factors like the whole water table thing rising and falling with the seasons, and I mean it's absolutely insane. But there's a few things that are going on, and I think I want to start over just because I'm going down a direction that I don't actually want the city to go down. And as you saw there, the window automatically closes because it has a 2-minute timer. Hence, if you actually look here, you'll see, well, when it pops up, there was an hourglass there. So let's talk about the city for a minute here. We're not doing terrible. And in fact, this is pretty good. Almost 900 simoleons bringing in every year. Pretty good. The fact that we're in year 2036, we're not as far as I could be, but, you know, I mean, not bad all around, and I guess, you know, let's lower this down to turtle. We're losing a little bit of electricity there, but let's actually look at the statistics here. So 17,000 people. Traffic is 4. It's at an all-time low. Crime is, I mean, it's 20. I do not actually know what the scale is for some of these. I could not find that. But just overall, not bad. You know, things are going well. We're getting everything in, aside from the energy crisis. But there's a few things, and I guess I'll just go ahead and pause here, that I have done wrong. And first of all, the transport system with the trains, apparently, and counterintuitively, the best transport system in the game is the bus system. And you would not think that because you would think trains could move more people. Trains have a different advantage in that they can transport your Sims further. So the way the simulation treats Sims is that it basically gives them 100 steps or 100 tiles that they can travel at any given, I guess, day, cycle, whatever. But it's not entirely 100 because what it counts, when they transfer zones, when they transfer to a different transportation type, like a road, to then a bus system or a train system or whatever, it takes away different points, I guess. So like transferring to a zone or transport, I think, counts as 4 movement. If I remember correctly, I don't know. I've got a little cheat sheet here beside me of all the tips and tricks. But basically, the effective range of a train is about 40 tiles, whereas a bus is, let's see here, 10. But they have a major difference in that, has 24. The bus lowers traffic within a range of 10 tiles. Subways and rails are less, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it's the same 10 tiles. But what they do have is a different reduction in traffic. So like a bus has a 50% reduction in traffic within a 10-tile radius, whereas a train only has 25 to 40% reduction. So the trade-off there is that it doesn't reduce traffic as much, but it allows Sims to travel further, just because it adds to the range of Sim movement. But cost-effective wise, pretty much everyone says just go bus depots. Subways are basically rail, just underground. So they're not actually better. So everything that I've been doing over here is kind of absolute nonsense, this whole rail thing. Speaking of over here, water pumps actually are less effective the further above sea level they are. So these ones should be producing more, about 41,000, than say this one, which is not. It's actually the same. Okay. This one is 62, but the reason this one is 62 and then this one is 40 is because it is surrounded by basically 1, 2, 3, 4 water tiles, whereas this one is only 3. It's touching 3. There's a whole thing with the water system, with how many tiles you're surrounded by. So really, it's actually almost more effective to just have little stickouts of your. Let me show you here. So like this, and then have a pump here so that they're completely surrounded by water. And in fact, you can even have an island with one pump on it, and that will still be very, very effective. Let's see, what else have we got here? So like the school system. Let's check on the school system here. It is currently at a C+, and if we look at this guy, he's saying we need more adequately funded grade schools. So there's a thing here where if you look at the ratio between students and teachers, that is what determines the grade that you have for your school system. So if we actually take 872 divided by 13, is that right? So the proper ratio for an A+ is a 13-to-1 student-teacher ratio. So if we actually do that, yeah, wow. So I need like 3 times as many schools currently. But basically, when we were A+ here, and we were apparently adequately funded and everything, he was still telling me, we need more grade schools. And you're not adequately funded in the grade schools until he starts saying you need more colleges. So let's bump this up to like 80. Not that one. Okay. Okay, so we're still not there. So basically that's telling you the difference with how your funding is and then your teacher school ratio. So like his thing has nothing to do with the grades on this. So that's the balance there. Also, I think that works the same for the hospitals, if I'm not mistaken. Although that's slightly different, but yeah, I mean it is basically. So yeah, so even though we have so much more room in here in this school, as we see, like we're nowhere near full. You still need to build more to maintain the ratios and then adequately fund them as you go. Also, I've learned that you only need one connection to a neighbor, but I'm not sure if it's one connection per road type or not. But having multiple connections to a neighbor has no impact for a multiplier effect. So when you do a road, it does a commercial multiplier, and when you do a rail, it does an industrial multiplier. And so, like I said, only one connection is needed to get that multiplier. And when I was saying that rail, because the manual, the official manual with the game says that industry likes rail, well, what they mean is for connection, because having industry next to rail has no impact. Apparently, allegedly. Again, I guess I have to say allegedly to all of this because almost everyone contradicts each other that I've been reading here. In fact, this one book that I've taken all these tables out of must have been written just at release of the game because it brings in a lot of points of how, well, this is what Maxis says it does, but it's actually got a little bit of a bug here, and hopefully they fix it. So I guess they got like the full release version or the pre-release version or something before everything was fixed. Also, we see that I tried to do a little bit of wind and a little bit of solar. And really, it's recommended that you just use them in conjunction because of the weather. So, in theory, if you have 16 windmills, that is a little bit more power than a solar power plant does. Again, they are variable, though, because of the weather. But in theory, all things being the same, if a solar power plant is down, your wind power will pick it up. And so you kind of have to build them in a ratio to avoid the problems that you might have with, not having enough sun or wind going on. Apparently the simulation will always have one or the other going on. Excuse me. What else? What else? Oh yes, industry. Industry actually has a major impact in this game. So we've looked at this before. What I've learned, however, is that each of these corresponds to different densities of industry. So certain things, such as the food, and let's see, construction, and things like finance, those will only develop, and again, you can't really tell, so they develop within the simulation, but the game only tells that you have that much in light industrial, whereas like steel mining and textiles will produce only in dense. Or excuse me. So food and construction will be light or dense, so they can develop in either. But like finance and media will only produce in light, and then steel and textiles will only produce in dense. And there's all of these have something like that. I've got this table over my cheat sheet. So you can kind of play with that and build it with demand and then raising taxes and whatnot to shift all of that. Basically, if you want to micromanage your industrial zones so that you don't have a lot of terrible, polluting, dense industry. Wow, mini mall. That's pretty cool. So, yeah, man, there's just like a whole thing. Oh, and your ports, like the airport, doesn't need a road. Doesn't need a road. Just needs to be electrified. Doesn't even need to be watered. Yeah, so we could expand this plateau even more. So anyway, after all of this, oh yes, let's look here for a minute here and see the analysis of City Hall. All right. So watching Let's Plays of this and streams and surprisingly, I don't know what happened to this game. I don't know why it's suddenly popular. Over the last like 6 months, there's been a lot of people playing this game. It had nothing to do with me wanting to do this. I just decided to get back into city building. But anyway, apparently you're supposed to have a good ratio of 25% transportation. Land use for your city should be about 25%. So, you know, that kind of impacts your road layout because a lot of people, for whatever reason, like to have little 4x4 blocks, and I guess that's just because you've got buildings that are 4x4 buildings. Most of the quote-unquote official stuff from, you know, people who know better TM prefer 6x6, but then there's like the people who know even better who like the 10 or the 9x9. And I'm still pretty partial to the 9x9 layout because it can fit a lot of things in it. And in particular, it is a good metric for transportation between bus systems. So like here, these are way too close together. Those ones are the appropriate amount because of the whole 10 tile overlap radius. And so like this is highly inefficient where I've got the transport. So anyway, I want to start this city over now that we've had an overview of what's wrong with it, but I'm going to use the same map. So let's go ahead and, well, let's see some things happen here. Let's set this to llama. Let's set a fire in the city, right on a water tower, because that makes all the sense in the world. Let's do a flood to try and put out the fire. Well, completely in the wrong area. Let's do an air crash, because horrifying death and destruction is what we're all about here. Okay, so clearly the sound is not tied in here very well. Okay, what else do we got here? Tornado? Must have destroyed a tree or something. And we'll see if this actually gets in here. Ooh. So for an old game, this still seems pretty intensive on a system. This is actually running really slow. Earthquake? I think I'm going to leave an earthquake out of this. Because if I use the same map, it basically just removes everything that is currently on the map. So all these waterfalls that I put in here are going to be in there when we reuse this map. What are you doing? Are you even doing anything? Can we go faster? Sure, let's destroy my system even faster, why not? Eventually, we will gain access to a military base. And the military base apparently is what can help fight against the alien monster here. It is apparently the only thing that can help fight against it. Let's add a hurricane in here. Oof, and it just... Okay, so hurricane apparently is an inland flooding. That's loads of fun. And what do we have here for rioting? Because apparently people are going to be very upset. Hey, look at that. And the monster just went in and sucked him up. Okay, well, I think we've had enough fun here. Okay, yeah. Another thing I've learned is that if you do not have firefighters, I think, the game will give you, like, the National Guard to fight fires. So this one thing that I read, one of the books that I read, actually recommend. No, it wasn't a book. It was one of the websites. Recommended not even buying one. Just wait until you're going to buy 2 firefighting houses, because otherwise you're just wasting money on that when you can just have the game provide you that. We're not going to go with that. Anyway, let's edit a new map. And this is, I guess, going to be a speed build. We're going to try and get back to where we were. So what was that? It was like 17,000 and making about 900 simoleons. So let's see how well we can do this here. We will not save our city. We will be coming back in here. And now that I have the opportunity, I kind of want to clean up. Oh, that's not what I wanted at all. Pull that back. It's unfortunate you can't just get rid of that, because the raising and lowering doesn't just go for this tile, it goes for all surrounding tiles. So let's see here. Oh, really? Okay. That apparently does not go to the same thing. But yeah, see, like, I only went one tile and it gave me a radial, which is not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted either. Can you just chill? Just chill. Fine, we'll keep it right there. Maybe pull... Okay, I see what's going on there. I see what's going on here. Something like that, yeah. All right. I don't want to do too much, because I feel like that's cheating just a little bit. Seeing as how we've already manipulated some of this. But what I do want to do is come in here and, well, maybe just for the look of it. Trees actually do have impact upon land value, and they have impact upon pollution. But they also act as a burnable thing, which means that if a fire starts, it's one of the items or objects on the map that can catch fire. And that's a pain. So let me pull this back. Shit. That is not what I wanted to do. I picked the river thing instead of the water. This is water. There you go. Yeah, that's what I thought. Same thing. Okay, we'll clean that up a little bit. Okay, it's time to start again. So now that we've wasted so much time, let's head in with done. We will say new city. Let's go with I don't know. We'll call this one Gasburg. This one we'll own. We'll start back in 1900. Although maybe I should go 1950 so I can get my subways or my buses. Nah. Let's see how this works. Okay, so none of that means anything to me right now because, well, it is... We've got to turn off this stuff because for some reason it resets every time. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is a 9x9 square. And we're going to start over on this side because it is going to be easier to expand. And this is going to be a lot of money, so let's see how quickly we can get this to go. Let's see, we're looking at like 100 at 100. There we go. Gotta be just a little bit careful with it. So early on, another thing that matters is the type of industry that you go for. So the zone density that I was talking about earlier impacts what kind of industries will show up, but also the time period. So at 1900, you were more likely to get um, things like steel coming in than you are to get electronics, for example. So you kind of have to prepare for that and anticipate that you're going to have to zone certain densities to keep up with the demand. And I figure that that is why I was having such an overabundant demand for industry, despite the fact that I had a relatively developed everything. Okay, for a minute there, my vision blurred a little bit and I couldn't tell. So we're just going to go straight dense and make this the city center. The idea of growing it and sort of redeveloping it, it's a nice idea, but man, it's really expensive and it's really a pain because unlike later games where you can do like this, where you can just click and drag out a zone and then do the same thing with sort of destruction, in this game you can only do one little thing here at a time. So in order to maintain the ratio, the 4:1:3 ratio, which everyone agrees is pretty much the good starting thing, I'm only going to do, let's see, do one there, and one there, and one there, and one there. There, okay, so we now put commercial in as a direct buffer, and I'm already not planning this well. So my idea here is to put a bus stop in each of these corners, and that should take care of a lot of our early traffic. The other question now is, how much light and how much dense do I want to do? We know we are going to have quite a bit of the steel mining and textiles. So do I want 2 light and 1 dense, or 2 dense and 1 light? I think I will take and put these all as light, in this corner anyway, because then I will push the dense and thus the heavy polluting stuff out along the backside here. So we're going to go with 1, 2, and I mean I could overabundance this, but where I could put it in here, it's kind of peeking out, peeking over. Yeah, we'll just leave it for a minute. We'll see what demand says, and then we'll have a place to expand from there. Okay, another thing, we don't necessarily have to begin with putting down water pumps, and I think I'm going to avoid that. So there's actually one of the manuals, or one of the guides, actually says all you need to do to start a city is put down 20 hydros, 12 water pumps, and all the zones that can provide for, and then it actually says let it run overnight, and in the morning you will have a city running with about $1 million. Of course you have to put in a few ordinances too, it recommends, but yeah, so I don't know what the clock speeds were on computers of yesterday, but man, that seems like a very long and unnecessary time to let the game run that we don't have to do. But I will take the first advice, which is putting in 20 or so of the power plants. That is not the power plant. Oh, it even kept the subway. Okay, that's interesting. Or not the subway, the tunnel. Okay, so you're not getting a complete start over there. That's kind of a bad thing. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and we need one more. Yeah, alright. And this time, instead of putting pumps up here, I'm going to put... Why do I keep grabbing that damn thing? I'm going to put the electrical. So, I guess that means that I could then come down here and put all my pumping here. Oh, I've got waterfalls along this thing because that didn't... I should have fixed that. So I'm going to have a lot of empty space out here. Why don't we put some of these here instead? What do we got here? That's, I guess we can start with 12. I would probably recommend to have more. The water pumps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm also going to level terrain just a little bit. Oh, now that worked. Now that just only did the one. I'm going to put that back in there. And we're going to do water pump. So we got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know what? We'll put one here too. No, because I want to save that for a tower. We'll put that one right there then. And I'll put in at least one tower. Again, we need the collector. We're running out of money rapidly, and I should probably think more about the electrical side of things than the water side. So if we're gonna run that there, why don't we run this here? There we go. And I guess I will take this back down the side that it was down before. Thankfully, electrical wires are rather cheap. I have yet to put in pipage, but I can wait just a minute because I actually have to do this first, putting in on all of my zones. I shouldn't have put it there. Let's take that off for a minute. We will run that. Actually, this will be cheaper. Just trying to get all the zones. So another thing about the electrical is that the more electrical you have running through a zone, the faster it will develop. Now I don't need to worry about that too much just yet. I don't think I'm going to overly care. What is going on here? Well, anyway, I guess we do need to... Let's at least connect these up and just see. And then if I run that there, those should connect there, but I'm going to make a connection there anyway. Alright. So I could... 63, okay. I'll wait just a minute, because what I actually want to do is... Well, let's not raise taxes yet. We'll wait until the first year to raise the taxes. Okay, so I think we're good to go here. Let's go ahead and run this at cheetah speed. See what happens here. Well, first of all, need to be touching those. Teen workers, leaf band, sting thrashes 80. Okay, making a little bit of money. Let's go ahead and put in that and the parking fines. I could also do pollution controls early on, but we're not making any money at all at the moment, so we'll just give that a tick. I'm going to save this as an area for possibly solar power. Possibly, or a park or something, I don't know. Okay, and now we got a demand for police. We'll soon have a demand for fire as well. Can I put them both down? Police is 500. I think the fire station is also 500. So let's use this as basically the central city square. I'm going to put the police station here, the fire station here. We will have to connect these up. Let's just add another power line there. And then we got to come into here, and we got to take this down to, say, about 15%. Take this down to probably 20. Fire coverage is excellent. Fire coverage is adequate. Excellent. What are you complaining about? No advice. So nobody is complaining about industrial pollution just yet. That is good by me. The Emperor is trapped. Okay, let's let this run just a little bit more, please. churches are an interesting thing as well. They will pop up from time to time, but effectively do nothing for the city. We now need to have hospital, so we will put a hospital here, and of course we will lower this down to 15 is good. We need more firemen because the city continues to grow and it is going to be pretty rapid here, I have a feeling. So let's take this up to 25% here. The thing with the density is that density brings traffic, which brings pollution, which brings low land values, which brings crime. Citizens now want schools. So you can see we are rapidly, and also we have got the mayor's house now too. We are rapidly expanding this city. So we need to make sure you have electricity, and industry is about to go through a big boom here. What kind of industry? Big ratios for the steel mining and the textiles. And so I'm going to guess we're going to put in a bunch of dents here. And we don't have any money, so I'm going to have to hold off on that for a minute. But let's come in here to the school. Let's go to 30%, 35%, 45%, 55, 50. Okay, that's a lot. But this with densities, this is going quite rapidly. Take this up to like 40%. See how that goes. Now, one thing I can do to lower all of this, lower crime, lower the need for fire, increase health and all that stuff, is basically putting in ordinances. So we're already asking for pollution control there. We could also do like a neighborhood watch, and at this point we could probably also do an income tax. So let's do all of those and let it rip again. Let's come in here and look. Now we've already reached over 5,000 people. Let's check our power. Power is very adequate. Water is way more than we need. Let's see, unemployment is super high, and that is because of the demand in industry there. So let's take a moment to pause the game once again, and let's take care of some of that industrial. I'm going to put in a mix here. Mix just like that. Now hopefully, okay, yeah, I'm also going to put the mayor's house. Surprisingly, the mayor's house does not actually seem to do anything to add to land value. It's just there. It's just a metric building. I could not find data that proves that this adds to land value. So we'll just put it right here by a water pump and by the river, because why not? And let it go again. Now we are in 1907, which means I do not have access to public transport just yet, aside from the rail, but the rail, not good enough to justify it yet. Actually, you know what I want to do? Let's, we'll accept that again. I'm going to turn you down to llama speed. Turn you, and let's dump you, and let's put you just inside here. We're going to surround this with park, and each park acts as its own radius for land value, so having multiples of it is kind of good. We'll be a man of the people here. Thing about parks though, they do not transfer electricity, so you have to actually connect directly, and we are still seeing massive amounts of empty jobs. What is going on here? Oh, we do not have electricity running through the zone, that is why. So if we speed this up a bit, okay, we'll just let this go for a little bit longer. Crime is at an all-time low. We need more firemen. Adequate. Health and welfare, okay, you're good. We need more better funded schools. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, bring it down just a bit. Oh, we only had to bump it up once. Excellent. Let's actually look. What are we at here? A plus. Hospital as at an F. Okay. Well, it is almost 2/3 full. So we could bump up a little bit more. And I appear to have broken that pump. Check our stats here. We're now approaching 7,000. Adequate power and water. Good. And we've got 3,000 smackaroonies. So what can we do with that? Well, we can go to turtle speed, and we can start giving people water, because we have got so much water in the system. It's about time to use it, I should think. Is that actually... It is not connected. But it is connect... Okay, that's interesting. That's something I did not anticipate. Let's pause for a moment here. So as we saw, this was already being watered, and the reason it was being watered is because somehow, I guess these water pipes, so we connected to that zone. So let me see, can we actually... We can transfer water through the small pipes. Doesn't seem to be very effective, though. Wait, are we out of money? So it must be... What's wrong with the music? It must be something to do with range? That's not something I have encountered. Interesting. Can we... Okay, we just have to tell it to go anyway. I hate that. Can you turn that off on YouTube? Are you still listening? Yes, I am. Stop it. Okay, so we got density here, but the thing about the high density is that we're still getting houses from low density. So lower class homes, luxury homes, and if I can find one, middle class homes will all show up in low density. They will not go beyond that. Very strange. Okay, what is our ratio right now? We need to look at... Bust out my calculator here. Let's see, 2970 divided by 3780 is about 78%. So actually, we have got more than we should, in theory, need. Unemployment is now below 7. You want it below 7, apparently. But there's just massive demand for it. So let's come back in here and maybe open some up. What else? We always got to look at these. Crime's at an all-time low. We need yet more firemen. Eventually we're going to need another fire station, I think. Smoking ban. We need more funding in our schools. And in fact, there's yet one more aspect of this, if we're really going to be serious about funding our education, which is that if we look at people here, education. So the way the schooling works is it improves the education level, or the education quotient, or whatever, the EQ of a new generation. So a child enters in to school, they will gain a boost to their education, and they will eventually peak once they enter the workforce. It will then decline over time. The way you stop the decline is through libraries and museums. So, why don't we go ahead and add in a library to, at the very least, stem the tide of a little bit of the decline for our initial working force. We'll also go ahead and add in more surrounding parks. And boy, oh boy, am I waiting on buses once again. Okay, we are seeing a little bit more demand now coming up for the people. That's good. Tax is surprisingly, even just 1% tax actually has a surprising effect upon people coming in. It's kind of crazy, actually. How is our health, anyway? Oof, life expectancy is way down. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's look at the adequacy of this. This is grade F. I think we need to bump this up a bit and maybe throw in a health ordinance. So, we can lower crime with the anti-drug. CPR training helps. What is that? -7 versus a smoking ban of 2. Okay, let's go with the smoking ban. She is, after all, recommending it. Where are we at for time? Okay, so 40 minutes, 7,500. We're still short of where we were. Water has dropped off, and it is non-existent. I'm not seeing any problems with the pumps. And this is empty. It is May, but it's also cold, so we should be having no problem there, which means we just don't have adequate pumpage. Yeah, look at that. Look, 63 versus 41 just by being right beside it and all that. So what I could actually do here, and I think I'm going to, is I'm just going to add a few more land pieces out here. And I guess I'm not really going to get that. You know what? I mean, this is actually going to be tricky here, because we might end up destroying that road. All right, well, let's do it. That's what I thought was going to happen there. Let's turn. Okay, well, let's at least pull that out, and we'll put water back in, and we will do like that. Put that road back in, for goodness sake. And then we will add a couple more pumps. Probably not nearly enough, but I'm not really ready yet to develop all of this stuff. I just want to see what the effect of 2 pumps is. Pretty considerable, actually. Yeah, see, I think we were going through a dry spell there, and we've had an overabundance of pumps. Anyway, so if you're actually interested, each tile apparently requires a point. Well, basically, residents now demand a stadium. We have the money for it, I think. Stadium, 5,000 buckers. Yeah, we're not going to do that just yet. But people are moving in, so we need to start expanding to a new neighborhood. We'll do that next time. But before we go, let's see. So each tile requires basically 1/3 of a megawatt for power, which is how we're managing to get away with 20 hydroelectric dams, because each of them will zone 60 tiles. As far as water pumps will provide, if they are near water, it says they will each provide 38 tiles worth of water. That by default they produce 15,000 gallons, and then of course depending upon like the water conditions and their placement, it can be anywhere from 60,000 to 25,000. So yeah, I mean it just, who knows? This part is probably the most unreliable, and it is why so many people seem to just make lakes purely for the purpose of having the water pumps. I kind of wish that of all the energy plants, the power plants that they put into this game, that they gave you a lot more options for the water as well. But then again, maybe I just don't have enough of these guys. Maybe I need to put more towers down for storing, because each of the towers has its own supply, but it doesn't really provide. It's really just more of a storage tank for it. So we've got water now because we're pumping excess into it to store. So that acts basically as its own pump, as you can see. I mean, if this is producing 40,000 a month, then this is hanging on to 40,000. So it's an interesting balance that I feel I'm going to struggle to deal with for a while. I do not know what I'm going to do with this. Possibly put a little 6x6 in there maybe if I can get it, but anyway, we will worry about that next time. So far so good. 8,000. So we're almost where I was at the beginning of the episode. And when you consider I spent about 20 minutes talking, in 20 minutes, this is what I've achieved. 9% unemployment. We need to deal with that. But, yeah, okay. Pretty good all around. I'm spending a lot more here than I was before, so I think that's a little bit of what's going on here, but we'll just keep expanding. And I think next time I'm going to expand back over here, and I'm going to, instead of creating these monstrosities, create little micro districts of basically light residential. Now, before I go, mentioning that the Sims will only travel so far, basically having this big bridge meant nothing. If I wanted to make all of this industrial, for example, and everyone lives over here, unlike later city building games, and especially like City Skylines or whatever, they would not travel all the way over here, not without some help. And even then, I doubt I could get someone from here to go all the way over here, even with public transport. So, something to bear in mind. You basically have to have little pockets of city and civilization everywhere that you go. But anyway, that's enough. I'll end this one here. I will see you next time.